Hello everyone. Here in this video we are going to discuss the resolution of a vector. That means a vector can be represented in terms of or with the help of two or more vectors. So that is called the resolution of a vector. So we are going to discuss this resolution of vector. Go through the video very sincerely and see to that if there is any doubt, then you post me the doubt after seeing the video. Now, we are going to discuss here the resolution of a vector. We all know what is a vector. Vector represents a vector physical quantity. It is represented by an arrow. The length of the arrow actually represents the magnitude of that physical quantity, and the arrowhead represents the direction of that vector physical quantity. Now we are going to resolve a vector. That means resolution of a vector means it is the process of splitting a vector into two or more vectors in such a way that their combined effect is same as that of the given vector. The vectors into which the given vector is splitted are known as component vectors. So I hope this is clear to you. Suppose a vector is given to you and you will split the vector into two or three vectors such that the combined effect of all these vectors is exactly same as the vector which we have splitted. So the splitted vectors, or the vectors which when combined give the effect of a single vector, those vectors are known as component vectors. Let us see some examples so that it becomes clear to you. First of all, suppose we have to resolve a vector r. So it is vector r, and the direction in which it has to be resolved is of two coplanar and non-parallel vectors. That is, two vectors a and another vector b is given. They are coplanar, means they are in the same plane, and they are non-parallel. They are not parallel to each other. So we have to resolve vector r in terms of vector a and vector b. That means we have to represent vector r in the terms of the component vectors of a and b. So let us see how it is done. Let us consider two vectors here, vector a and vector b, and let us consider a resultant vector. Like r is the vector which has to be represented. That means we have to find the component of vector r along vector a and a vector b. That means we have to resolve vector r in vector a and vector b respectively. So what we do is we draw a parallel line OP which is parallel to vector a, and we draw another line QP which is parallel to vector b, and these two lines meet at the point P so that it forms a triangle. Now the direction of vector a and vector b is same as OP and PQ. So from the triangle law of vector addition we can write here vector OP plus vector PQ is equal to vector r. So now we have to resolve this vector r in the directions of vector a and vector b. So we have formed a triangle here. So we consider the resultant OQ, which is represented by vector r, can be written as vector OP plus vector PQ. Now the two vectors a and b and the actual vector r which we have to resolve in the direction of vector a and vector b can be represented in a way such that OP, here you can see the vector OP is parallel to vector a. Therefore vector OP can be written as lambda times of a. This symbol is called lambda. So lambda times of a. You can see here the vector a may not be equal to vector OP, but lengthwise they may not be equal. So that's why vector OP, the direction wise vector A and vector OP are same, Therefore, vector OP is represented by lambda times vector A, and similarly vector PQ, which is parallel to vector B, can be represented as mu times. This symbol is pronounced as mu. So mu times vector B. So I hope this is clear to you. So vector OP is lambda vector A, vector PQ is mu vector B. So when we use the triangle law of vector addition, then vector R can be represented as vector OP plus vector PQ, which is lambda vector A plus mu vector B. So we can say now that the vector R has been resolved in the direction of vector A and vector B. Here, lambda into vector A is the component of vector R along the direction of vector A, and mu into vector B is the component in the direction of vector B. So I hope this is clear to you. The component of vector R along the direction of vector A is lambda vector A, and along the direction of vector B is mu vector B. So now let us we have seen vector R is represented by lambda vector A plus mu vector B, but let us prove here that lambda and mu cannot have other values other than lambda and mu. That means here if you put lambda dash instead of lambda and mu dash instead of mu, then vector R has two equations. One is lambda A plus mu V, which we have seen in the earlier slide, and then here we can see that lambda dash A plus mu dash B is also R, vector R. So we can equate them. So we now have lambda minus lambda dash, because we take it to the other side, vector A is equal to mu minus mu dash minus mu into vector B. Now these two equations, these two sides, that is the left hand side and the right hand side, will be equal only when these two components, that is lambda minus lambda dash and mu dash minus mu, is 0, because vector A and vector B are two different vectors having different magnitude and different directions. So if they have to be made equal, so they have to be multiplied by 0. That is lambda minus lambda dash will be 0 and mu dash minus mu will be 0. So we can write here lambda dash is equal to lambda and mu dash is equal to mu. So it means that vector R can be represented only in the form of lambda vector A plus mu vector B. So their values of lambda and mu will not change. So this represents the uniqueness of the resolution. That means vector R can be represented in the direction of vector A and vector B in one particular form only. Hence, there is one and only one way in which a vector R can be resolved in the direction of vector A and vector B. I hope this is very clear to you. Now one more thing you need to understand here, when we are resolving the vectors, so we have earlier studies what is unit vector. Unit vector is a vector having magnitude 1 and a particular direction. So that's what we call a unit vector. It is also known as base vector. So orthogonal straight of unit vector means in a right-handed Cartesian coordinate system, that is x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, three unit vectors I, j and k, written as I cap, j cap and k cap, are used to represent the positive direction of x-axis, y-axis and z-axis respectively, and these are the unit vector along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, where all of them have a magnitude of 1, only the directions are different. These three mutually perpendicular unit vectors I cap, j cap and k cap are collectively known as orthogonal trait of unit vectors or base vectors. And since they are unit vectors, so I cap, j cap and k cap, if we take their modulus, that is the magnitude, it is always 1. Now, here you see, we are considering three axes, x-axis, this is y-axis and z-axis. Now we take the unit vector, the vectors which have unit magnitude along x-axis, it is known as I cap, unit vector along x-axis. Along y-axis it is always represented in any equation by j cap, and along z-axis it is represented by k cap. So I hope this basic concept of resolution of vector is clear to you. Any doubts, you can put me the doubts so that it can be cleared accordingly.